Hello everyone. Let us learn the first flight, Unit 3, two stories about flying. This unit has two different stories. His first flight is the first story where we learn about a bird's flying, and second one is black aeroplane. Let's see what is there in his first flight. His first flight story talks about a small bird which is scared of flying. His parents tried to make him understand flying is his nature and he has to use his wings. But he was very reluctant to do so and he was hesitating to take a flight. Though his brothers and sister had already learned flying and accompanying their parents for flying and searching food and having fun in the sky and all other things with their wings, he wasn't able to. His mother and father tried a lot and many times they were screaming and scolding him for not listening to them. Everyone take a flight. Every day it was the same. Once his parents decided that they are not going to help him to have food. They stopped feeding him. Since he wasn't using his wings and learning how to fly, they wanted to teach him a lesson. From the morning, he did not have anything and he was so tired. By noon and evening when approached, he felt horrible. He could not withstand that hunger. His mother came with food, kept food in front of him and tried to avoid him, ignore him, though he was mourning. She did not pay attention and she acted so. Then later on, when he tried to move himself towards food and his mother, he couldn't. Next day morning, he was fully tired of. The same thing was repeating. His parents ignored him and went for their flight and they searched for food and all. He tried to spread his wing and move little friend. His mother also tried the same in the morning. She was trying to bring him out of his place and make him to fly. As he moved towards the food, she just took that away from him. He did not notice that he has crossed the brink and he just felt the air which was blowing against his wings and chest. First time he felt air moving in and around his wings. He was so scared that his wings were moving. That made him to get little courage and take his wings movement for his support and move ahead. He took 2-3 rounds and his parents cheered for him and made him to be courageous. They were all applauding, chirping and screaming around him cheerfully. Then later on, as he was tired of, he wanted some food, so he went down on the sea. Though he was able to touch the waves, he couldn't have his legs on the water. As he was tired of, his legs sunk and then he thought he is going to completely sink down. but his body stood on the water and it was floating. This is the story of his first flight. Let us discuss the second story of Unit 3. This second part talks about a pilot's plight which he had during his journey to his land. The narrator starts his story saying that he was flying from Paris to England for his motherland to his home. He was over France, and that time he had called to Paris control room to get the direction for his flight. His aeroplane name was Dakota, and he called Paris control room saying that he wanted clearance to move ahead to England. Operator received the command and she told to change his flight, turn around 12 degree to west and move ahead. He had seen that his flight compass was not working and it was completely switched off. He had very less fuel. First he thought of to go back to Paris, but he wanted to have his breakfast. So he just made up his mind to go ahead and reach England in time. He was very eagerly waiting to have his English breakfast. As he moved further, he wasn't able to see anything. Suddenly, storm surrounded him. In the dark night, he wasn't able to understand which way to move, what to do. He was in complete confusion. He tried to reach Paris control room again, but his radio was also off. It wasn't working. Suddenly, in that dark cloud which was surrounded around his aeroplane was just broken, and he could see another aeroplane in front of him. Of course, that aeroplane did not have lights around it, and the pilot who was there flying that aeroplane came beside this aeroplane and raised his hand and made signal saying that he has to follow him. The narrator has to follow that black aeroplane pilot's way. Since he did not have any other way to go and no control room was helping him, he decided to follow that black aeroplane. That black aeroplane pierced the black clouds and took a flight and moved ahead. Later on, he made the flight go down slightly, taking it down. The narrator followed the same and he followed that black aeroplane, and suddenly he has seen lights brightly shining. Then he understood that is the runway. When he came down to his aerodrome, he tried to collect the information of that black aeroplane. That aeroplane wasn't seen again, and there was no other any witness or proof that the black aeroplane was there in the air. He wanted to thank that pilot for his help, and he went to desk and asked the lady in charge who was there about whereabout of this black aeroplane. But the lady confirmed that there wasn't any flight at all. He was the only one who was flying, and he had amazed. He was wondering who had helped him in his distress.